Hello, this is Julia Bushkova, and today I'm going to do a short demo on the beginning of the third movement of Wieniawski Violin Concerto No.2, the very first measures of choice of fingerings and how to practice, the most efficient ways of practicing these measures. I will show everything under tempo, since that way you will be able to follow the fingerings and everything I'm doing. And here we start with the very first initial statement of the violin. So these are the fingerings that we most often do, which is we're playing the B flats with both times with the fourth finger. Here the first B flat and the last B flat, both of them fourth finger. However, if you have small hands or your stretch doesn't work very well, you may want to do different fingerings, which also for some people work better for their bow hands, and that is to slide down with the second finger and play the first B flat with the first finger on A string. It's brighter actually, and for many people it works best. Now the important thing here is to slide without what I call meowy sound. You don't want to have that sound. You want to have light sound, light or almost not noticeable shift, of course. So how to do this in fast tempo is to practice in a slow tempo by releasing the string as you move. Even though it's a very short shift, still the finger should not depress the string equally when you're shifting from F to the E. So as you notice, again, you can watch my shifting videos, but what I'm doing, I'm not stopping the bow in a very super slow tempo, taking it under the microscope, so to speak, and so on. Light, not noticeable shift between those two notes. Second passage is exactly the same, except when you are reaching your B flat, I would recommend here to go into the second position and use these fingerings, the ones that we always used in Russia. I know some editions recommend nothing, or just basically people stay in the first position and then they have to shift 3-3 all the time, like this. For most people, for most students, as obviously I am directing my video to students and not full professionals, for most students those kind of shifts result in very, again, meowy shiftings. Shifting because it's hard not to press for many people who haven't studied the shifts in a light fashion. But what we then hear is a lot of this, and you don't want that. So to avoid all of this hassle, it's better to go to second position on B flat and start from the second position. You will do these fingers, and then you will shift into the fourth position, and then into the sixth, and so forth, through the open string, using always 1, 2, and 4. And then open string again, you are shifting onto next one. Those are very good fingerings, proven to be very comfortable. So how to practice that passage? The best way to practice, the best ways rather to practice. Of course, at first you may just play the way it is, and then choose your own path. Now, these are several paths from which you can choose. I would do, honestly, all of them, but the order depends on you. For me, for instance, I would rather go by my feeling of my first finger and my second finger at first, by my first step. So then when I'm shifting, instead of playing that C sharp the way I did, what I would do is to hear the notes, and then next position will be right? That's not a 6. So that is the path that your 1 and 2 are going to be doing. And that's what I recommend to practice. Actual sixths, 2 notes at the same time, and feeling like, okay, here my fingers are apart, here they still are apart, and in the second position they were together, and going back to the second position again. Again, shifts have to be light, even though in reality you will not be playing those shifts exactly, but it's good to know. Also, what you really need to do is when you shift it to concentrate on how it feels right there between first finger and the neck of the violin, where your thumb is exactly. Is it slightly forward? Is it slightly back? Is it here more? Is it there more? All of these little things are really important for you to remember where your good, comfortable position is. So also remember that your position has to be comfortable for both your first finger and your fourth finger, because you will be playing the fourth finger, of course. So the next step you can take to check that, you will shift on the sixth. And once you're in this case, fourth position, you will check the fourth finger by placing on the string. See that it's not, for instance, doing this, like you're not exactly comfortable for the fourth finger, so that your fourth finger perhaps can be what I call supported. Even if not, it has to be in the most comfortable situation. Next way of practicing that is to pay attention to your octaves. And you do have octaves between the bottom note and the top note. Here's your octave. And the next position will be the same octave. So you can just skip all the other notes and practice. And even if you choose eventually not to play the fourth finger here for the upper note, you know, like this, or maybe you will choose to do third finger instead, still very good to practice your octave there. All right. Method number 3, shifting only on the fourth finger. So here you did your octaves all together. So now you do only fourth finger. You found your C sharp. And just doing the fourth. Okay, so that again, that frees up the first, and it gets you a little closer to what you in fact will be doing eventually, which is you won't have the first finger on the string, of course. So the next thing we're going to do is to shift without having any fingers on the string by, I call, placement. And here, again, going back to the sixth or to the octaves, each of them, starting from the sixth, for instance. And in that fashion, so I'm lifting and I'm landing in the places that I already learned when I was actually connecting them on the string. The same thing I would do with the octaves. Here, and so forth. So you land in the places that you have learned how to shift to them at first. So after that, I believe that's when you're ready to play notes the way are actually written, but not quite still. So you will, in this case, I would suggest to play with what I call simple bowings. Simple bowings are the slurs in the right hand when you always start the new bow on the beat, not in between the beats, but on the beat. So here your beat starts. And so forth, right? So instead of playing exactly what's written in the music, which is and so forth. What is the benefit of it? There are several benefits, and one of them, very important one, is that we do not have our hands constantly connected, that we actually have a separation in our brain between what the left hand is doing and what the right hand is doing. Also, the bowings that are always starting on the down beats, or actually on the beats, I should say, they promote more fluidity in the left hand, rather than what I call fancy slurs that a lot of times provoke a little bit of jerky movements in the left hand for some people. Again, for some people. After, when you have done this, I would recommend, of course, to go a little bit faster, and then when you are halfway there, maybe to the tempo, then you can go back and then play the bowings the way they're written. Here's the important thing, that the faster your tempo will be, the more you will be inclined, and for a good reason, to not shift with any fingers left on the string, but actually do that placement that we did a little while ago. Indeed, this is what is happening in fast tempo. And by the way, this type of practice, which is, I just did the passage without the bow, is also highly beneficial when you're increasing the tempo. You just do that motion. It's a motion, correct motion. I'm trying to do exactly what I've done, remembering every position. And meanwhile, you're not distracted by the actual sound. So it frees you up. And in fact, you really need to tell yourself that you want to be playing passage in a freer condition. So, and one important item that I need to note for practicing of any of these little steps, shifting with the sixths or shifting with the octaves or lifting and placing and so on. The first couple times you do it, just find the motion, find the movement and so on. Immediately after that, you need to repeat the same thing, telling yourself, let go a little bit. What you let go of, you don't even have to know. You just tell yourself, let go of something. And do it with a very relaxed is not exactly the right word, but you have to do it with a functional hand. Do not hold the tension, or do not let the tension rather hold in your hand when you're shifting. A lot of people, a lot of us do that without realizing, and by just saying, okay, now the same thing, just a little bit lighter, usually helps. So this is it for today. Look for my next videos. I hope I will be posting them soon.